Welcome everyone to Monday Morning Morons for December 16th, 2019. This week, let's begin with an example of the patriarchal system of male privilege we hear so much about. University of New Mexico suspends professor for attempted blackmail by student he rejected romantically. No, you did not hear that wrong. Now, fair warning up front. This article is a bit long and I'm going to have to make cuts to fit it in. I will try not to lose any context, but feel free to double check me and read the original if you like. You're a professor. You meet a graduate student who is not in your class or under your supervision. She comes on to you, and you decide this is fun, so you have a flirty email relationship for several weeks. During these conversations, you offer her a summer research position that would pay a grand total of $703 from a leftover research grant. After a while, you decide this written romantic thing is bad with a student, even one who's 35, and whose career does not depend on you in any way. But you keep offering her the job. She's pissed you rejected her and rejects your job offer. Then, it gets much uglier. Now, the article went with the first person project yourself into this situation stylistic choice, but it's not fiction. This is actually what happened. It just wasn't you. Robbie Suave, Soav, or however you pronounce it, at Reason, and Samantha Harris at the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education tell the story of Nick Floor, whose University of New Mexico blamed him for the student's attempted blackmail when he reported it. This cannot be described with the journalistic safe word of alleged. Suave and Harris have the grad students threatening emails to Floor, promising to expose their email relationship if he doesn't resume the sweet talk. By Suave's count, he's reviewed nearly 7,000 emails and texts between the two, the vast majority from Julia. He reprints several of them. It's insane how badly this ended for Floor, considering everything he did was over email, even though the 50-something married with kids professor admits exercising poor judgment. Suave writes, but the professor and the student never slept together. She never worked for him. She never took one of his classes. They never even met in person except for their initial 5-minute introduction. Despite an unambiguous timeline that clearly establishes Julia instigated the attempted blackmail in the summer of 2018, despite Floor's continued job offer, the university believed her after Floor filed a complaint. Julia claimed quid pro quo harassment against him and retaliation because he accused her of harassment first. This is where it gets somewhat complicated and takes a while to explain, so let me see if I can just summarize the indisputable facts. I say indisputable because they have hard evidence to support everything I'm about to say here. Professor and grad student briefly meet in person once. First time they've ever met each other, and the only time they ever met each other in person. Everything else that transpired was through email. Remember that. Now you'll see why in a few minutes, but this is important information in this case. This professor has absolutely zero control or influence of any kind over the academic career or pursuits of this grad student. They're in different departments and she does not take any of his classes. They begin conversing via email with each other where she makes sexual advances towards him. Unwisely perhaps, he does not shut her down immediately, but mutually engages in this back and forth so-called romantic email banter. He then offers her a summer research job. After some time, he decides this back and forth email banter probably isn't a great idea. He is married after all, and decides to stop doing it, but still leaves open the job offer. She gets pissed off about the rejection, refuses the job offer, and then attempts to use this email relationship as leverage against him to keep the relationship going. At this point, he realizes he's kind of in a bad spot, so he reports the whole thing, at which point she claims quid pro quo harassment against him, and want to take a wild guess what happened next? It appears that the university's first investigation did not reach the predetermined guilty professor result that it wanted because UNM yanked the male outside investigator it hired and installed its own female interim Title IX coordinator. No explanation given. And no explanation needed either. It's all too obvious why they replaced the guy who didn't find the answer they wanted to hear with a woman who would. Schwab doesn't name the official, but the timeline makes plain that it's Sarah Cliff, who was appointed interim Title IX coordinator in August 2018 and remained until a permanent replacement took over at semester's end in December. 2 weeks after the first investigator released preliminary findings in late November, Floor learned the interim Title IX coordinator had taken over. This interim official described their relationship as if it had been physical, apparently grasping for a sympathetic explanation of Julia's documented behavior. Catch that? At no point had these two been physical in any capacity. So the Title IX coordinator decided to just add a teensy little bit of embellishment. The university also withheld the fact that it quickly cleared Floor of violating a policy on consensual relationships and conflicts of interest, he said, preventing him from citing that vindication in his now fruitless appeals of the guilty findings. The result is that Floor, who is tenured, is suspended without pay for a year and functionally prevented from getting a real job because of his outside work agreement with the university. It's not a stretch to say the university hopes he quits so he can actually earn a living. That's right, folks. The guy who was being provably blackmailed gets suspended without pay. And they can't fire him because he's already proven he did nothing wrong. So instead, his livelihood is put on hold for just long enough that he'd have to quit just to live. Seems like the system is totally on his side, right? Woman says, therefore man guilty. Proof be damned. That is the omnipresent, all-powerful, pervasive, patriarchal male privilege running amok through our entire country that we all need to spend our every waking moment trying to destroy. And it gets worse. Showing it's nothing more than a rubber stamp on a lawless administration, the Board of Regents refused to overturn the university's finding when shown the evidence. Fire challenged the university's failure to give Floor a basic hearing or an opportunity to introduce exculpatory evidence. Indeed, any chance to question Julia about her history of erratic behavior with faculty. Floor was not the first. What's even more strange is that the university previously cleared the first professor that Julia accused of the same offenses. Her attorneys provided suave documents that mention this faculty member. It boggles the mind that the university knows Julia did the exact same thing before and found her complaint baseless, yet found her credible with regard to Floor when the record decisively supports Floor's account. She has done the exact same thing before. If at first you don't succeed, keep lying your ass off until they believe you. Remember this next time you're lectured about patriarchy and male privilege. They don't exist in America. Moving on. Harvard guest tells students charity is harmful, used to cover up injustice. Now even charity is bad. A guest lecturer at Harvard University told students that philanthropy is inherently problematic, calling generosity the wingman of systems of injustice. Oh yeah, I can just tell we're going to overdose on irony in this one. Anad Garad, holy shit, dude, buy a vowel. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. Whatever. Author of Winner Takes All, The Elite Charade of Changing the World, spoke at the Harvard Institute of Politics in November. What's his first name? Anand began his speech by noting that the venue, named for John F. Kennedy Jr., may be the only space on Harvard not named after a random rich guy who gave a lot of money, and joking that it would soon be named after Jeffrey Epstein. John F. Kennedy was not a rich guy. Sure. Almost all of the rest of the spaces at Harvard, he lamented, are named after large donors to Harvard. Damn those fucking rich people for building the university you're all currently being educated in. How dare they pay for your education like that? They should totally give all that money to the government so they can pay for our education. Really spent a lot of time thinking this one out, didn't you? He went on to observe that hyper-rich people are always doing everything they could to change the world, and asked, why is this happening? Because they have the means with which to change the world? I mean, I'm just spitballing here. Anand explained that the more an individual or entity is harming the public, the more it will advertise what they are doing to help the community. Irony alert! The more you advertise how you help the community, the more you're actually harming it. Now just stop and think for a moment. Who is it that's running around all day and night in every corner of our society telling us how much they help communities? What if all the generosity is the wingman of systems of injustice? Asked Anand, before going on to explain to the students that the only way the millionaires and billionaires are able to exist is because of the surplus virtue created by positive entities like charities and universities. He explains that bad people have a moral virtue deficit, which causes them to make a trade with entities that hold surplus virtue in order to keep their name clean. He argues that the main motivation for donating to organizations is that it allows the wealthy to clean up their reputation with good deeds, enough for people to overlook their misdeeds. No, not really. Everyone knows their main motivation is tax breaks. Seriously, dude. Charities is how rich people launder their money to keep it away from Uncle Sam. Everyone knows this. Doesn't mean that's necessarily a bad thing. If the charities are actually using the money to do something good, well then who gives a fuck if Bill Gates gave them $1 million or $2 million? In a recent tweet, Anand claimed that billionaires are like Bruce Wayne, causing societal problems through their companies by day, then wearing Batman costumes to solve them philanthropically at night. Oh, I get it. You're supposing that someone being rich is, in and of itself, bad. So it wouldn't really matter who. They're all inherently evil because they have more money than you. That totally makes sense. Appealing to his readers through popular culture, Anand reiterated the point he made to Harvard. As long as the rich are allowed to keep donating ridiculous sums of money to charitable organizations, they will continue their vicious cycle of sucking the life out of communities as well. Anand also emphasized how college students and young adults have not done enough to protest the acceptance of money from such donors, saying he finds it very hard to explain the lack of serious protest in this country on campuses. Yeah, stupid people. Get out there right now and throw a king-sized temper tantrum until rich people stop voluntarily helping the needy. We need more dead babies and homeless people starving to death in the streets to prove our point. And you call rich people who donate to charity evil. What's next, Bob? Leftist students storm classes of professors they disagree with as part of art project. Riots are art now. Students at Yale University stormed and protested classes taught by professors with whom they disagree as part of what was supposed to be an art project. Led by student Zulfikar, Manan, who is organizing the demonstrations as part of a visual arts capstone project, protests began in November against Professor Emma Skye. Skye is a global affairs professor who is also a British citizen serving as an officer in the British Empire. Oh my God! A literal colonizer right there on campus. According to the Yale Daily News, 5 demonstrators stood outside Skye's classroom chanting, "Open your eyes, open your ears. You are being taught by those you should fear." That's quite pithy. After attempts to enter the classroom to hand out pamphlets labeling Skye a war criminal were unsuccessful. The pamphlets also implied that Skye was a puppet for supposed imperialism and technocracy. And British, so, clearly a white supremacist too. These allegations seem to stem from Skye's previous service as commander of NATO's International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan, along with advising the commanding general of U.S. forces in Iraq. However, students of Skye did not take kindly to the protests. As the lecture commenced, protesters attempted to hand them the pamphlets on their way out. None of the students accepted one. Shortly after, students of Sky demanded an apology from Manon. In an email to the Yale Daily News, Sky stated that her classroom is a safe space for students with different views and backgrounds to debate vigorously the politics of the Middle East and U.S. foreign policy. It is a classroom that values freedom of speech and rigorous debate, and that is why so many students compete each year for one of the 18 slots, Sky added. Holy crap! Free speech, rigorous debate, white nationalist dog whistles all over the place. It's like a literal Nazi training camp behind those doors. After protesting Sky, Manon continued his project by protesting law professor Akil Amar's constitutional law class. This time, the protesters not only entered the classroom, but actually bombarded the lecture stage with more pamphlets at the ready. They claim that Professor Amar, the son of Indian immigrants, has alt-right views of the Constitution. I see the white supremacists are branching out again. Fuckers are getting more diverse every day, I swear. These allegations did not seem to sit well with Yale law student Duncan Hosey, who happens to be a liberal political activist, having participated in multiple recent protests at Yale, including a sit-in to protest Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh and the recent disruption of the Harvard-Yale football game to insist that the universities divest from fossil fuels. Even as a liberal activist, Hosey condemned Manon for these accusations and actions against Amar. In an opinion piece for the Yale Daily News, Hosey not only scolded Manon's alt-right label of Amar, but claims it is a drastic falsification. Hosey writes, "As a law student, I have read, listened to, and debated Professor Amar. There is not a scintilla of evidence to support these charges. At its core, Amar's constitutional vision undermines alt-right white nationalism." Well, clearly, Duncan is an alt-right sympathizer. Hang him! Hosey went on to assert that if Amar is alt-right, so are Abraham Lincoln and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. A bold argument, but that's right, they are. Lincoln wanted freedom for all, but he didn't sufficiently punish every white person in America for having had the wrong opinion for the previous 100 years. And King wanted to help black people, not punish white people. Clearly, an alt-right dog whistle decades before the alt-right would eventually hear it. He was a real forward thinker, that guy. Hosey also emphasized that scholarship and our democracy depends on individuals learning from people with opposing viewpoints. The hell you say, you damn fascist! We can't give these alt-right Nazis a platform from which to speak. Someone might hear them, and to hear them means you must agree with them. And then we're all surrounded by thousands of Hitlers. He encouraged Manon to take one of Amar's classes and attend his office hours, saying that he felt Manon might agree with Amar on more than he thinks. No, he won't. He's no fascist, you fascist. Okay, so in case you didn't notice, no, I didn't take that one at all seriously. Art can be a protest. Take Oliver Twist, for example. But barging into and interrupting a class you're not part of and clearly have never listened to just to hand out some politically motivated flyers is not art. If you're going to call it that, then you are not a person worth taking seriously. Toxic time, Bob. Florida teen jailed after allegedly stabbing boyfriend in hospital bed with surgical scissors. An 18-year-old St. Petersburg, Florida woman will contest a felony charge after police say she stabbed her boyfriend with a pair of surgical scissors as he lay in a hospital bed. Tania D. Sherrod faces a single charge of aggravated battery with a weapon after the alleged November 19th incident at Bayfront Health, St. Petersburg, the Tampa Bay Times reported. Sherrod's unidentified boyfriend was lying in a hospital bed with Sherrod at his side when an argument ensued concerning suspected infidelity, police said. She became irate when her boyfriend would not permit her to see his phone, the Times reported. As the argument continued, Sherrod picked up a pair of surgical scissors in the hospital room and began stabbing her boyfriend in the right thigh, causing multiple puncture wounds, the police report said. There was no indication as to why the boyfriend was in the hospital. Probably because this isn't the first time she's asked for his phone. Sherrod was arrested on December 4th and booked in the Pinellas County Jail on a felony charge of aggravated domestic battery with a deadly weapon. She was being held Monday in lieu of $15,000 bail, the Times reported. Now, it's terribly difficult for me to really say here because, as the story mentioned, she is contesting this. So I can't hashtag believe women because I don't know what she said. And I don't know the lay of the land here, so to speak, so I can only make some basic assumptions based on what I've seen in hospitals. For instance, if they were having this discussion in a hospital room, then there's a chance they were alone in that room. Not a great chance, but a chance nonetheless. Or perhaps there was another patient on the other side of that little privacy curtain room divider thingy they use. No clue. So let's give her the most advantageous assumption and assume they were alone. In which case, all of these allegations are his and only his. No witnesses, no security footage, nothing like you would normally expect in a hospital, okay? Just for the sake of argument, this is his story and only his story. Now then, we have the physical evidence to contend with. He was clearly stabbed in the leg multiple times. It's right there for anyone to see. So, can't realistically claim he wasn't stabbed, can we? Now remember, for our assumption here, he's the only other person in the room. So then, to contest this, all she's really left with is claiming that he stabbed himself in the leg multiple times to keep her from getting his phone. Yeah, that sounds totally reasonable. Good luck in court, hun. All right, Bob, let's wrap it up. Colorado mom lets porch pirates take out her trash with decoy packages. They deserve it. Colorado woman reportedly gave some porch pirates a taste of their own medicine this week by leaving trash-filled Amazon boxes outside her front door. Christine Hyatt told KKTV in Colorado Springs that thieves have stolen at least 20 packages from her porch, and last Wednesday was the third time she was able to dupe the criminals into removing her garbage for free. We forgot to set out our trash for Thanksgiving, so we were overflowing with trash, she told the station. I've had packages stolen, and I went, you know what? I have extra boxes. Let's see if someone will take our trash. Bravo! You go, girl. In fact, everyone else who gets a lot of deliveries stolen should do this shit too. Maybe the douchebags will learn to quit stealing shit off your porch. That's it for this week. Remember the social justice mantra: women are victims, men are oppressors, and feminism is just about equality. I'll see you all next time.